This is 6 Minute English from bbclearningenglish.com.
Hello, I'm Rob, and this is 6 Minute English. I'm joined today by Alice. Hello, Alice.
Hi, Rob.
Today we're talking about alien life form and who on planet Earth would aliens speak to if they one day made contact.
Alien life form. This is something that's written about in science fiction books, but nobody has actually discovered anything extraterrestrial yet.
Extraterrestrial. That's something that's not from our planet. Now, Alice, I've got a question for you.
OK.
What was the year that man first walked on the moon?
I'm not sure. Can I have a think?
Of course, you can give me the answer at the end of the programme. But back to the subject of contact from aliens. If someone from another planet did land on Earth, what do you think they might say?
Would they say, "Take me to your leader"?
If that's a nice thought. But who would our leader be? Who would be the first person they should speak with?
That's difficult. Maybe the President of the United States of America? The leaders of China or Russia? What about me?
Well, the answer, according to one expert, is a space ambassador.
A space ambassador. What would they do?
Well, they would be the first point of contact for aliens trying to communicate with us.
So they would be the first person to talk to, a point of contact. And would they meet and greet these aliens when they land in their UFOs, their unidentified flying objects?
Not exactly. A space scientist called Professor John Zanecki, who has suggested the idea of a space ambassador, can explain. He thinks it's unlikely to be a face-to-face meeting.
The likelihood is not that aliens will suddenly appear in Guildford or Manchester or somewhere like that. The contact, if it does happen, is most likely to be through radio signals. Because, you know, in the last decade, we've discovered something like 500 planets orbiting other stars like our sun. So it's no longer fanciful to think about the possibility of life on distant planets.
So Professor Zanecki doesn't think aliens will land in a town or a city. Our contact will be through radio signals.
Yes, radio signals. We will pick up some kind of sound. He believes it might really happen one day, and the idea is no longer fanciful.
Fanciful. That's something that's unreal or imagined. But, he says, this is no longer fanciful.
Yes, that's because in the last decade, 500 new planets orbiting other stars have been discovered. So it's no longer fanciful to think that there may be life on distant planets.
I see. So he wants us to be prepared for a possible contact from aliens.
Yes.
And who might this space ambassador be?
Well, next week, a meeting at the Royal Society in London will be discussing the appointment of someone, and a likely candidate is an astrophysicist called Mazlan Othman. She already heads the Office of Outer Space Affairs for the United Nations.
So the UN has an Office of Outer Space Affairs. It deals with issues that are literally out of this world.
That's right. Professor Zanecki can explain a bit more about the things it looks after.
There are laws and regulations that have been signed up by many countries about what we can and can't do on the moon, you know, who owns the moon, and also concerning the non-proliferation of weapons in outer space.
So the Office of Outer Space Affairs oversees laws and regulations about which activities can take place on the moon, who owns it, and also the non-proliferation of weapons in outer space.
Non-proliferation. That's a limit on the use of weapons in space and keeping it a peaceful place.
Well, having a space ambassador seems like a good idea, but they may have a lot of waiting to do.
Possibly. Professor Zanecki says alien contact could happen next week, next year, next century, or maybe even never. But it would be really unfortunate to miss their call. Now, Alice, what's the first thing you would say if you were contacted by aliens?
I would ask them if they knew the answer to your question. What year did man first walk on the moon?
And what do you think their answer might be?
1969?
Yes, that's correct. American Neil Armstrong was the first man to walk on the moon in 1969. And what do you think he said?
After such a long journey, I'd like a cup of tea.
No, not quite. His famous words were, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind."
It really was a big step, but he didn't encounter any aliens.
OK, Alice, we've taken a small step in learning English today. Could you remind us of some of the words that we've learnt, please?
Of course. Alien life form. Science fiction. Extraterrestrial. Ambassador. Fanciful. Orbiting. Appointment. Non-proliferation. Weapons.
Thank you. That's all we've got time for today, so thanks for joining us and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
That was 6 Minute English from bbclearningenglish.com.